recorded. Warning.
Hey. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. This is cool. What's up?
Oh,
What?
not much, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my podcast.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and do the introductions and we'll get into the question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Everybody, welcome to Trailer Punk Podcast. My name is Justin Hamline. Today I have the honor of having the man, the myth, the legend, Daniel Mustard. Thank you, buddy, for your time.
Yeah. Cool. This is awesome. So, yeah, the man, the myth, the hype, right?
A little bit of everything. Like, I mean, I've been kind of following you for a while, so let's go ahead and 15 years since you've done the Opie and Anthony. Tell me about all that.
Has it been that long? Oh my
It
God.
has been, I know, dude. Believe me. I'm
Oh.
feeling it. So,
So you want what do you want? Like a brief? Do you want the whole story? You want to know, like, okay,
well,
I was a stinking drunken bum living in Washington Square Park.
yep.
For real.
Yeah.
Uh, and I got arrested one night for drunken disorderly. And but when you're homeless, they arrest you for everything. They arrest you
Mhm.
for sitting on the sidewalk. They arrest you for laying down on a park bench. They can do that. They can't make homelessness against the law, but they make it illegal. They can't make it illegal, they make it against the law, or whatever it is. So everything you have, like camping and or just sitting on the sidewalk, it's called blocking pedestrian traffic. I love that one. Anyway, so I got arrested, as is my had been, at that point it had become my habit.
Yeah.
Um, And okay, yeah. And so I meet Keith the cop. Do you
Yeah.
know who that is?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Is he still
Yeah,
around?
he's still around, dude. Yeah, he's still around. Yeah.
That would be hilarious. I meet Keith the cop, and they take you out. They took me out in this office. Like usually you come in, and then there's like this big like bench. You kind of stand there for a second, then they take you into a cage, right off that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, the holding cell before they take you downtown. And downtown is like it's the most miserable place on the planet. They call it the Tombs. It's all underground. It's gnarly as fuck. Anyway, but they didn't take me downtown. Instead, they took me out to this side office. And I'll tell you, like, there had just been a thing up in the news about cops shoving a plunger up somebody's ass.
Yep. Yeah. I heard about that.
The closet
Yep.
in Queens or something like that. And so I was like, where are we going? I want to go in the cage.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in here.
Don't get me anywhere near the plungers, please. You know?
Just please, this looks like, yeah, this is not how this works.
Yeah.
This feels like some sort of okay. Anyway, so I meet Keith the cop, and he has this whole thing with Opie Anthony, and the deal, I suppose, I guess, as I understand, like I didn't really know who they were.
Yeah.
Later on, I heard more than I remembered a couple of stories about the thing about the couple getting busted
Yep.
fucking in the church.
Hmm.
Put that together, but at the time, I really didn't know who they were. Is it okay if I swear? I'm swearing like a
No, go
bitch.
ahead. Swear you can smoke, you can do
I
whatever.
was raised by sailors. Okay, good. That's the other thing that I'm not
No,
sure about.
you're good.
Are you allowed to smoke on
This is
YouTube?
total punk, so it's all whatever. So
Thank God. I talk. I don't know. Yeah, good. I'm glad to know. All
yeah.
right. So what were we talking
Okay, so
about?
Opie and Anthony, Keith the cop brought you in to be on Opie and Anthony.
Lord. Okay, so yeah, so he had this thing with them, and they had a deal. They had a deal, a gag they had done before in Boston,
Hmm.
where they take all these homeless people out to a mall somewhere in like suburban place, like nice, quaint place. Oh, nice people. Look what's happening. And the joke is to kind of make fun of the shopkeepers for closing, like freaking out when they're all, and it's homeless people, but they've got money. What are you gonna do?
Oh.
And also they make fun of the shit that people buy. They
Hmm.
make fun of the shit that the homeless people buy. Like that they buy, they make fun of some guy for buying sunglasses or something. And uh, and so whatever, exploitative humor, yay.
Hmm.
Why not?
Right.
You know,
It was a
Howard
weird
Stern
time.
is
It was a
in the
weird time
building.
back then. Yeah.
What?
There was a weird time back then when,
Uh,
shock jock radio was like a whole thing. But yeah,
yeah,
no,
no, I mean it is. It's just in the
yeah,
podcast now. The
yeah,
Shock Jocks haven't gone away.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
just called Joe Rogan now. It's all that incendiary shit.
Yeah.
It's all that like clickbait, like, my hair's on fire,
Oh, I know. Oh my God.
So that's the evolution of the shock jock. Like,
Yep.
look, Howard Stern's become a genuine interviewer. Like
Yes,
he's
he
a
has.
real guy now.
I know. He's
It's a
become,
whole other, it's
yep.
a whole other planet. But yeah, but that was the gag, and so that was the idea, was that they were bringing homeless people on to the show to like have these interviews to get the viewing audience more emotionally invested, right? Get to know your bums.
Yeah. Get to know your fellow homeless man. Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. So I'm sorry to laugh at my own
No,
self.
you're fine. It's funny now, but it was a weird setup because it was a comedy show. And what most people, if they're watching this that aren't of our era, comedy shows pre-podcast, everything was on satellite. So you could cuss, you could whatever. And you had Opie and Anthony, Joe DeRosa, and Patrice O'Neill, may he rest
It's
in.
O'Neill, yeah.
Yeah. And it was you and it was a homeless guy, Joe, which he was struggling with heroin. And
Joe is the guy who never quite launched. He never
yes.
quite like
Mhm.
that was the thing. And I think he actually said that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
you come in and just blow the fucking roof off
it
with your
was just funny. Like I
yeah.
was very quiet for most of the time, and they
Mhm.
were like really freaked out because I smoked a cigarette in the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's a shock jock radio station. Who cares, you know?
they were like, "Are you smoking?" Oh my God, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? They were so freaked out, but like they were freaked out. They were whatever. I'm not supposed to do that, but like actually, they weren't as freaked out as I was. Like just trying really hard to pretend like I didn't do that. I was like, "What are you talking
Right.
about?" No, I didn't.
Just
Like it's
like you're
okay.
in
It's like,
school,
you're
just,
not supposed to. It's like it's not that deep. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I didn't do it.
right.
But I was defensive.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do? Anyway, no wait. But I also had a bottle of vodka with me. They didn't know that.
Hmm.
I love that. The shot of me there, and there's that Tropicana bottle on the couch, and it's mostly vodka. 6 a.m., man. It
Yep.
was like so early in the morning too.
Yeah.
But that's how it worked. And that's part of the thing. That's part of like the unusual chain of events, right? Things that normally don't happen, which is that the day before it was somebody else had rum.
Hmm.
Miguel Rios had a big old bottle of rum. So we were drinking his rum.
Oh
So I
wow.
still had my vodka the
Oh, you
next
have your
morning. I
15.
wouldn't have normally had that with me in the morning.
Was that your 15, 16?
It was, the 1516. That's so funny. What do you know of that? Did I talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. You talk
That
about
was the
I know your
price
whole
of the
story. So
Georgie pint or something.
yeah.
I don't remember now, but it was the price of the Georgie pint.
Yeah. Yep.
1516. That
Yeah.
was oh my God. Oh
One of
my
your songs.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at you. You're reminding me of shit. That's
I'm digging deep.
yeah.
I dig deep with my guests, so believe me.
Wow, thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a trip. That's Looters Massilian. Someday I gotta, do a I gotta do a whole podcast just about him alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Captain, oh Captain. He was amazing.
Yeah.
The 1516. That's a trip, dude. All right, deep dive. Okay, so where are we now? Am I still telling this
So
story?
they were so yeah, you're telling your story about they're
So we
like
get there. Oh yeah, the cardboard. So Joe made some comment about cardboard. Most nights, you just find some cardboard somewhere. And I made a crack about like, oh my
mm,
God, the relationship you develop with
yeah,
cardboard.
cardboard.
And still to this day, I'll see like big piles of cardboard somewhere and think bedroom set. Like I'll think like, oh, I could totally set that up. We could crash that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's we used to like anyway, it doesn't matter. New York City, there's a lot of weird
Mhm.
resources, when you take
Right.
advantage of them. So
Oh,
whatever you got,
yeah.
you take it where you can get it. And so yeah, so I don't even remember how it's kind of so funny. Maybe I should have rewatched it before doing
Oh,
this.
it's
I don't
okay.
even remember what I said to the guy,
Yeah, so you were
but
talking
it came
about
up
yeah,
about playing music.
yeah. And
And
then
so,
they were yeah, you talked about your relationship with the cardboard box, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, let's talk with Mustard." And then you kind of were like, I think you brought up your past living born and raised in Hollywood, and how you did
yeah.
two roles here. You were in a Metallica music video.
Wonder Years, the two Wonder Years, yeah.
Yeah, and then
There was a whole idea of acting for a while there. I went to a performing arts high school, and I was like, it's like I'm actually I think I'm pretty good at it. I just don't
mhm,
really have like it's a lot of like vibrato. It's a lot of like, when you go to like seminars and stuff and you get a lot of advice about how to get cast.
mhm,
And most of the advice is you got to sell yourself. Most of the advice is walk into the room going, search no more, I'm your guy. Because the fact of the matter is, almost anybody who walks into that room can play that part. And the people there know that.
Yeah.
So you have to do two things. You have to show them that you are the guy
Hmm.
and that you're somebody they want to hang out with. That's the advice they give you
Yep.
because that is a big factor, like whether or not they want to spend the next 3 months on a set with you. Um, and so that's the stuff I'm like the worst at. I don't know if you haven't, if you want, I guess, I don't know.
Right. You got to sell yourself.
I don't even like,
It's weird
I
because
don't want to,
you,
I don't want to push my,
right. And you did that on Opie and Anthony. You really came in just going, this is me. And even just while you guys were talking, you were showing off your vocal skills, talking about 5150. I think you kind of saying, I'm trying to remember if it was a Bob Dylan, just like kind of like threw a lyric in here, a lyric in there, just showing off your skill. And they went, oh shit, this guy can sing.
uh,
It gave you a guitar.
yeah, they brought me the Taylor,
Yeah.
the infamous Taylor.
Yep.
And I guess you probably know that because that was one of those things that people would say, like, where'd the homeless guy get a Taylor? It's like, it
It has,
wasn't the guitar.
yeah.
I
So,
don't know. Was it that hard to figure out?
right.
No, there was like always like it's so funny to be like a part of that, but like immediately there was people trying to say that I wasn't really homeless because my hands were too clean and because the guitar, like it was some sort of setup, like the
Right.
Opie and Anthony show. It's like like we're gonna pretend he's homeless, but really he's the musical guest. Um,
Skeptics, I swear.
oh, what a great gimmick! It didn't really pan out though, but we'll see. Um, but it's not a gimmick, it's the not a gimmick.
Right.
Um, so the Taylor guitar, right? So they
Mhm.
brought me the guitar and I played the songs. I played one of my songs I played, and then and then they're like, play a cover. They wanted to hear me sing covers. And there's another one of those sort of like unlikely chain of events kind of moments is for years at that point, I'd been playing a certain set of songs in the park every day.
Every day.
And I sat there that morning, and for the life of me, I couldn't remember a single one of them. I couldn't even remember a song title. Like, never mind the chord progression or something,
Oh,
right?
just like memory. You know what I mean?
What was I playing? I can't. I was just playing it last night. What the fuck was it? And Creep was not really a song I played.
Oh,
It was
wow.
just a chord progression I knew because of that CE change, which is
Mhm.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
And people know that. And so the CE, and anytime you do CE, you think that's that song. You can't really write with that. I'm just saying, like, you go, I want to write. No,
They
it's
took, yeah.
anyway. So yeah, so the C, actually, I do it all the time now, to be honest. But anyway, the point is that CE change. So, and so it was just a song I knew as a fan of that song, not as a performer of that song, which is also like, to me, is like, to me, it just doesn't seem like that's how that should have gone. Like, that's one of those things that makes it all seem like some sort of clandestine thing.
I
But
think so, yeah.
that's magical thinking. I have to be.
Mhm. Oh, no, I agree 100%. It was one of those just odd moments where everything kind of came together perfectly.
And it still freaks me out. It's still kind of like, it's just such a weird thing to happen. And that it's still something I'm talking about. Like, hi.
Still like around, people are still talking about it. And it's funny because I was listening to the episode. This was years ago, and I was looking online and someone said you were dead. Like everybody thought Daniel Mustard is dead. I was like, no, he's not. Like, there's
Died
no.
a couple times. I
Yeah,
got it right. That's a song. I
yeah.
died a couple times over the years. There was another homeless dude that had been on Opie and Anthony who had at some point. And so, yeah, people thought that was me.
Oh, geez.
And he also sang songs. That was also part of the gimmick,
Yeah.
was that guy was like, yeah, a bit like kind of silly. Like it wasn't, I don't know. I never heard him play or nothing, but
Right.
they were I think they were making fun of him. I think they
Mhm.
wanted to make fun of me. When
Right.
they brought me the guitar, I think they
Yeah.
thought that I was going to be all over, and they were, oh, that's great. Like, but I remember like Patrice O'Neill in particular, but they were like, whoa, what the
Oh, yeah.
fuck?
They're blown the fuck away. Right. So,
No,
uh,
Patrice paid me one of the nicest compliments like ever. He was
mhm.
so fucking cool. Um, and the other, what's the guy? What's that comedian? I always forget his name. The little guy who's in the shit play, who's married to a trans woman. Do you know what I'm talking about? Jim something.
Yeah, yeah, Jim Norton. Yeah.
Norton. Sorry, sorry.
No,
I
it's okay.
always forget his name. He was really cool. I really liked him too.
Yeah.
I feel like if I met him again, he'd remember me.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
he was really nice to me.
Yeah.
But Anthony hated me.
He, I could never understand because it was weird because I would kind of listen in, and then in the beginning, it was like, oh shit, this fucking guy could sing. And then I don't know what happened after that. He always has this weird issue with homeless people. I think because he's like, was always kind of like, he built himself up and now he's very like uber conservative now. So,
Yeah, I imagine
yeah,
he's probably very mad. I would
yeah,
imagine.
oh yeah, very mega. So it was one of those things where I think aside from seeing your talent, he just went, oh, he's homeless. I don't give a shit. That type of thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's dark.
that was certainly the heart of the joke.
Yeah. And I think
was to not give a shit about my humanity.
right.
That's what that is. They're making fun of bums just because they're bums,
Yeah.
just because we're whatever, and and it's not the most mentally healthy people. That's kind of the point.
No.
Like, we're not that's the, that's you're not homeless for no reason.
Right. No, it's understand because there's a lot of I used to help out here in St. Louis where there would be homeless vets. And because they went through so much shit, they felt more comfortable in the streets and we would bring them coats and chili and stuff like that,
I,
which was
I
cool.
I remember this as a child because there was a lot of Vietnam vets
Mm-hmm.
streets in the 80s, and
Yep.
Reagan shut down all the psych wards.
Yep.
They closed all the psych wards. They didn't replace them with anything.
Yep.
And all those people ended up on the streets, and a majority of them were Vietnam vets. I
Mm-hmm.
knew a lot of those guys. I knew a lot of these dudes, and I was one of those kids that like talked to people.
Okay,
My
what?
mother, my mother for years used to tell these stories about how embarrassing it was that I would approach homeless people or prostitutes or
Yeah.
whatever and
Awesome.
want to talk to people on the streets of Hollywood. This is what it means when you grow up in Hollywood, especially in the 80s. It's shit like that. There were, it was a grimy little town. And my mother
Still
hated
is. Yeah, still is. I
it. Say what?
said still is. Still is.
Well, it's grimy in very different ways. I think it was much more literally grimy then. I think it's more figuratively grimy
Yeah.
now. But or on fire.
Yeah.
Uh, I shouldn't make fun.
Oh, the 90s.
This is
Yeah.
my home. That is my, that's my home. I miss California. I love California. I have a lot of California love and pride. But damn, man, the fires. Um, but it's a stupid place to put a city.
Oh, you're right. You're right. 100%. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like,
The only reason it's there is because of the gold. There was the gold rush and everybody went running out there. And so Los Angeles just built from there. And then it's a great seaport. Just
hmm
seaport. And that's the sort of thing that really, really mattered back then. So, it becomes this great big city, but it's in a it's in a desert basin for real. It is in one of the driest places in the
it
country.
is. Oh,
It's like, what?
but
And
it's
then people that want to pretend like they know how to fix it don't even understand the problem. No, it's not about raking the forest, and it's certainly not about releasing water in Northern California for no reason.
no,
It's not that the water runs from north to south. That's not that's not how plumbing works.
no, no,
But
no. It's okay because It's funny because you're bringing this up, and I want to encourage people to check out your website because you've become very politically outspoken.
oh yeah, stop
Yeah.
the fascism.
Yes.
And nobody wants, and I hesitate to even talk about it because
Oh,
if
it's okay.
you get
Go ahead.
started, you're crazy with it. I guess I'm blue pilled. I guess I have Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, you're fine.
I don't know. I think the people that think this is normal are deranged. I
Yeah.
think that's like
Yes.
this isn't. But like, I feel like there has been a systematic effort to confuse and misrepresent what is not just what is normal, but what is democracy, what is
hmm
the system at work
Yep.
here. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like that they stopped teaching civics in high school
hmm
when I was in high school.
Yep.
And that it's been all downhill since then. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to get I'm presuming here a lot of I think they're just confused, but
You're right.
Not to condescend, but it's easy to confuse people. It's so much easier to confuse people now than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a systematic dumbing down, the defunding of education throughout my lifetime, and I've
Oh yeah.
watched it in real time firsthand, and it affected me personally
Yeah.
and indirectly. And, like the way that Republicans vilify higher education, the
Mm-hmm.
way that the guy on the stage in the suit who went to college is telling you you don't need to go to college,
Yeah.
shit like that.
Yeah.
And then the internet comes along and anybody can say anything and people forgot to check. Or I don't know, like naively, and that's where I dipped. There's this gap here where I was in the
Mhm.
streets, right? So I come back to the world about 2010.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, yeah, it's like at first I don't know, I just feel like found myself constantly reminding people that we live in I was discovering in real time that we now lived in a world where if you wanted confirmation that the moon was in fact made of cheese, you could find that on the internet. That somebody has made a beautifully crafted video to prove that in fact it is made of Gouda. And that is, you know what I mean? Like for real.
I
And
know
like
it's crazy,
why we have to be careful. I thought we were like going to
but
be
we're more
careful.
evolved.
And
Yeah.
I feel like we spent the 90s talking about this, like the disingenuous nature of the news media, and that I never had any delusion that the government was telling me the truth. I never had any delusion that any mainstream anything was telling me the truth, never mind the media. And
Right.
I'm very sub counterculture fundamentally in my
Yeah.
core. So like, I'm already suspicious of the mainstream. I'm already suspicious of the official line to
Right.
begin with.
Of course.
So like, and I just like, I think people lost the thread on that or something. And I think it's just that it's the, like for it's a silly thing to say, but a video the other day of Vanilla Ice of all people going on about 2004 because the iPhone comes out in
Oh yeah.
2004. He's insisting. I don't know if this is true, but according to Vanilla Ice, the
Hmm.
iPhone comes out in 2004, and he's blaming this for the degradation of music. Like there's been no good music since then. He's not correct,
Yeah.
but the point is, I do think that the iPhone is a turning point in our not just our culture, our consciousness, the way that everything, right? And so there was all this hope and joy, this idea that it was going to be an egalitarian space and people could connect, and there was the Arab Spring and these things that supposedly, right, that social media was making a difference or not.
Oh
I
no.
don't know. And then it becomes like the problem with social media is it's actually like inaction that feels like action. So like there's a lot of like protest online, but I don't know, does that work? Does that matter?
Right.
The guy in office thinks that his approval rating is sky high, and he is because that's just what they tell him
I
because they've
know.
all been instructed to tell, what was the joke? Somebody said, not even my joke, but somebody said it's so good they treat him like a special needs kid. They treat him like it was Jonathan Lovett. I'll
Yeah.
give him, God damn it. They treat him like a special needs kid. And I was saying, yeah, they treat him like the kid we invented the participation award for.
Yep.
This is the participation award kid.
Hmm.
And it's like, this is the guy in charge.
Right.
And
Oh
it's
no.
like,
Like it's
even as much as I understand the sort of like, there's a libertarian core to this narrative, to the MAGA carrot thing that I do actually understand. I am
100%.
actually in a weird way on board with.
Yeah.
But it's like these are the worst possible people to be doing this. He doesn't even really even understand what it is. And then you've got the Heritage Foundation, all the religiousness in there, which is a whole
No,
nother
you're right.
problem.
Yeah.
But and then the devil in the form of Stephen Miller.
Hmm.
Who Stephen Miller is, Tolkien, the king in the mountain, and they're sending the signal, and the king in the mountain, and he's all zoned out because he's
Yeah.
got the guy whispering in his ear.
Yeah.
I think it's called Wormwood, and
Yeah.
he's played by the guy who does the voice of Chucky.
Yes. Yes.
Good casting, and
Yes.
he's Billy in Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm sorry I don't remember his name because he's fantastic. He's on
Brad Dorff. Dorff.
Dorf.
Yeah, Brad Dorff.
See, I can't believe I don't remember his name,
Let me look
but
him up. Yeah, but go ahead.
we're online. No, I'm just, what was the joke here? Oh, yeah, that's who he is. That's who Stephen Miller is.
Hmm.
That's the guy. He's that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, and I'm all like, I don't know how to fix this. And that's my problem. I feel like I have to fix it.
Oh, I know, and
How do I fix this? How do I fix
we want
this?
answers. We want answers. We want to almost like go up to people and go, hey, wake up. Like, you know what I mean? You're being hypnotized.
This is everything you proclaim to be worrying about.
Yeah.
You know, the militarizing and, the military and the police, the FEMA camps. He's literally taking money from FEMA to build those whatever Alcatraz camps.
Yeah.
That is the FEMA camps. Do you
Mhm.
remember they were on about FEMA camps? Oh, the liberals are going to build FEMA camps
Right.
and take your guns. That's next. That's what'll happen. That might be the turning point if he does try to take their guns.
Yeah, who knows? But you're
And he thinks he has all the gun toters on his side.
right.
A lot of liberals have guns too. A lot more
Because
than you
I
think.
know you, I mean, he's been doing a lot with when it comes, I mean, already starting in DC and possibly he could be moving to
New
the
York or
homeless situation in New
Chicago.
York. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Because you've always been in the muck of that. You know what I mean? You understand what it's like to be homeless. What's your thoughts and opinion on what's going on in DC and what could be brought to New York or Chicago?
Well, I'll throw this back to weirdly Bloomberg
Mm-hmm.
was the mayor.
Yeah.
And Bloomberg ran on one of the things he ran on was reducing, oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
my big old water jug. Yeah.
reducing the visibility of homelessness. Now, remember this specifically because he didn't say reducing homelessness. He said reducing the visibility of
The
homelessness,
Phyllis.
which means just kind of shoving people aside and brushing them under a carpet. And so that's what was your question now? Like as far as what is that going to mean?
Yeah, what's it? What do you?
Homeless people in these cities is they're going to get tromped on. They're going to be arrested and put through the system. And if there's somewhere for them to go, like a hospital or a halfway house or something, maybe. But ultimately, I think they're going to start just deporting anybody.
Mhm.
That's what I think they're going to do. And they're building these camps. And part of the problem of a prison industrial complex or any sort of industrial complex is now you have to keep feeding it. So if there are immigrants to house in these containment camp, these camps are not becomes irrelevant. They'll find somebody. They'll
Yeah.
just figure it out. They'll start putting homeless people in there, whatever undesirables
Yeah.
there are, and whatever they deem undesirable. The un-American is what was
On
the
America. Yeah, that's it.
remember what's his name? What's his name with the McCartney? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, I don't remember anything anymore. What his name? But the un-American thing, that's just anything
Hmm.
you just decide is un-American just becomes an enemy, and that's just how that works. And that's the nature of lies and propaganda. And that's why it's so fucked up. And
Hmm.
that's why fair and balance and checks and balances and all these things matter. That's why the institutions matter. That's why the law matters. Because you can't just make it up as you go along, but that's what he's trying to do. The shit with the tariffs, right?
Hmm.
And people saying like, "Oh, the tariffs are working." It's like, well, they're working in that he's using them to strong arm people. Like he's using them as an extortion tactic. But that's not what tariffs are for. That's not what tariffs are supposed to do.
Oh,
So
no.
I don't know if that's working. But it's like, yeah, if you break a pool cue in half and stab somebody in the neck, it's working.
Yeah. That doesn't mean it's right. You know what I mean?
That's not really what a pool cue is meant to do,
Right.
but you can do that with a pool cue if you really need to. I've seen it done. I would never, but I've seen it done.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, yeah, you can, none of these ideas are new. It's all the things that we didn't do because we weren't foul, because we weren't evil, because we wanted to at least project an idea of American exceptionalism or American what, morality? I don't know about that. But the idea of being what? Leaders, right? Manifest destiny. That's about leadership. That's not just about you get to do what you want. That's about you're also, and these people don't know what leadership. That's a big problem with them. Oh, I've been saying this in the beginning. It's the difference, I'm sorry, a
No,
boss and a
good.
leader, right? He's
Hmm.
not a leader, he's a boss.
He is
And that's
both.
the problem. We have too many bosses. We need more leaders. And these guys don't understand what leadership is. These are the guys that get behind the work and go,
Yeah.
not the guys who are actually in the work or doing the work or who know anything about the work.
Right.
This is a guy who doesn't even know what they're doing half, what the other people are even doing.
Right.
Pam Bondi just tells him, yeah, we can do that. And she makes it happen or whatever it is she's doing.
Yep.
And what else? What else can I bitch about? That it's like, like it's like it can seem like hysterical, fine. But if we're wrong, but if we're right, it's like this is the time to be hysterical, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we're wrong, we're wrong. I'm okay with that. I don't mind being wrong. You know what I mean? I've been a stinking drunken bum. I do not have ego. I do not care. I will be wrong. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing to me how many people I know are like so offended by that. But like, I don't mind being wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh,
But
I know. We all
if
hope.
we're right, if we're right, um,
Then we should have stepped in the first place. Like you gotta block it before it happens. You know what I
I
mean?
don't, like I keep thinking about the birth certificate of the
Mm.
house sperm. I
Mhm.
keep thinking about that. I'm like, what about that didn't disqualify him? You know what I mean? In some way. Like, I don't even understand how he got past that. Except that what I think, have had to realize in the second term is that Americans in general are worse than I thought or that
Mhm.
we thought. That's the joke I've been making about the lies that liberals tell me.
Mhm.
Because liberals have been claiming that the American people are much smarter than that for all my life and
Right.
chastising conservatives for condescending to the American people because the American people are so much. No, maybe not. Maybe the American people aren't smarter than that. Maybe the American people
Right.
aren't better than that. I thought so, but I'm stupid. I was born and raised in a cult. What the fuck do I know? Like, I don't you know, I'm naive about a lot of things. I think I am naive about like the human nature, the human spirit, because I do really believe in some idea of a spiritual nature,
Mhm.
but that is fundamentally good in striving to do the right thing and be good and do right by others. But I think that our culture trains people to not give a shit about others, to be
I
narcissistic and sociopathic, and to just do whatever you want to do and fuck the rest of them. And I think that narrative has become, that's what's changed. That's what is the difference between the old liberalism and this new whatever it is that now we just don't have, we don't even, the idea being we don't have to give up we don't have to put a pretense of caring. But like some people really did care. Like I did care, I care, I still care. You
yeah,
know what
still
I
do.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm still a bleeding heart liberal for real.
Yeah.
I write songs about it and bleeding alone, but here I am. And like, and I think that they want to presume that because some people did pretend, that means everybody was pretending.
Mhm.
They want to presume that now we just can take the mask off and nobody has to pretend anymore. And anybody who does care is not real. And
Right.
just the way that they do, they just sort of go, nope, that's not real. That's not real. Trans people aren't real. You're not real. Your problem isn't real. Your complaint isn't real. They're fake. That's an act. Fake news. Anything I don't like is fake news. Any protesters you can see in the world are paid actors. They have an excuse for everything, the spin for everything, and they've been working on this for a long time. And it frustrates me too, also because younger people. I've watched this develop, where we're at this age where I've like literally like I remember when Fox News first landed and
Mhm.
first fucking launched. I'm that old. So like I've literally watched this whole and I watched every fucking episode of The Daily Show. That's an interesting thing too. People don't realize even what that show is about. Do you know what the basic premise of The Daily Show was?
To make fun of other news sources.
Just making fun of the news,
Yeah,
making
just
fun of the hokey, disingenuous
yeah,
nature of the news
yeah,
media. But it became Jon Stewart versus Fox News. So that's kind of how people think of it. But
Mhm.
if you actually watch that show, you understand there's more to it. There still is
Or-
more. But there certainly was more to it back then. But the point is, we already knew the media was lying to us. We weren't so, and I thought we weren't so naive. But I think that's the problem is that some people were naive and some people did think that like that Nicole Wallace was always going to tell you. I mean, I don't know. Nicole Wallace can only tell you as much as she knows. That's the whole point. And that's another thing. They don't pay that attention. They don't pay attention to that. When
Mhm.
they read the news or even the way that scientists talk, like they're precise about it. Like this is what we know and this is what we can surmise and this is what might be. And then some people who don't really understand it go, "Oh, he said the thing." And it's like, "No, he said that that's a possibility because it's a likelihood because it's something that happened in the past." That doesn't mean he said that, like, and I feel like that's what we keep running into is people don't even understand the conversation or take a sort of like absolute stance.
Yeah.
Like either the media is God,
Mhm.
driven snow, perfection, or it's trash. It's nothing but propaganda and reality TV or something, right?
Right.
So, and I just don't think that's the truth. And I
Oh,
just
I
think,
get that.
but they're pushing their narratives very hard.
Oh yeah. It's getting, I mean, again, you
It's
were
getting
talking about,
done. Sorry.
no, you're okay. it's just one of those things where you were talking about where's the heart? Where are we coming together as our fellow man? And yet the man in power is the one who would, step on people, step on the lesser thans. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the death of altruism.
Yeah.
It's empathy used as a dirty word. I remember the first time I heard somebody say it, like, that's empathetic. And I was like, oh, that's a bad thing. I didn't know that was a bad I didn't know anybody thought that was a bad thing.
I always thought it was a good thing.
I think that people like woke, like the way that they come at woke. I think they just think it's all lies and pretense. I think they just think it's, anecdotes and justice warriors and all this kind of stuff. Like people just wanting to look good. But like even that's a misrepresentation. I have a dog. I wish she was out here, but she's not. I have a rescue dog. She's a rescue dog, right? And I'm old enough again to remember when that was the first a thing, when people first started really kind of rescuing dogs. And when people used to say that, it was a warning. It
Mm,
wasn't a brag. It was a warning that like he might be weird. He might be skittish. He might even get aggressive. Just be careful. He's a
yeah.
rescue.
Yeah.
He has a past. It's a dog with a past.
Right.
It's what they were saying to you. And then I think it was idiots, really. I think it's idiot children who then misunderstand that as being, oh, he's a rescue. I rescued a dog. And I know there are probably people who do that also, but like where that comes from is it was a warning. This
Yeah.
dog's going to be weird. And, I feel like they do, what was my point here? That wokeness, the way they misrepresent everything, but I think I had to, now I've lost my train. Can we
No, you're
rewind?
no, you're good. Let's go ahead and get people
Glad
in.
it is live. What happened?
I was gonna say, let's get everybody a bit of your backstory, and
Oh
then
God,
kind of,
no.
like I said, we'll get back on music. And so, tell me about you grew up in Hollywood. I mean,
I was
you
good.
had a troubled past and all this other shit. So you can go ahead and dive into whatever you're most comfortable talking
How much
about.
do you want to know? Like, this is so funny because this is the new thing. This is the thing that I'd never mentioned to Opie and Anthony, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But I was, in fact, born and raised in a call.
Mm.
I was raised in Scientology. I was born and raised
Okay.
in
Yeah.
Scientology. My father ran away from home when he was a teenager to go get on the boats with old L. Ron Hubbard
Woo.
and sail around the world and fuck his brains out or whatever the fuck they
Yep.
were doing with those boats. And not good. I know they weren't doing good things. And my mother, who was a little older, who's not a boomer, she's of a previous generation, what's called the silent generation.
Mm.
And she had already had a marriage and a life and children. And then she left, had a divorce. And then she's like, kind of spit out into this world in the it was like early 70s, like it was still kind of hippy dippy and psychedelic and all that, and like a lot of sort of debutantes of her generation, like what was her name? Oh God damn, what was her name? The blonde who was kidnapped by the something Revolution Army, and then she like Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst syndrome. There was a lot of Patty Hearst syndrome going on. And my mother ran off to go like live with the hippies in some kind of like bizarre scenario that landed her in Scientology. She was fucking some hippie in Seattle. And he turned her on. He
Yeah.
turned to Scientology and turned, as they would say. And she joined what's called the Sea Org, which is sort of the elite core of Scientology, these sort of paramilitary weirdos that pretend to be soldiers and they're not. And whatever, these two people who probably never should have met, the hippie and the debutante, they had me. And what is the point of all that? Like, it's just a really fucked up way to grow up because in the context of the time, I didn't really sign on. I really believed in the doctrine of L. Ron Hubbard as I understood it, but I only understood it as a sort of a bypass, as a pedestrian or like not necessarily directly. People who were actually in it understood it as something much more devious and much more conniving and much more manipulative. I was just the victim of all that manipulation. I never got to the point where I could like do the manipulation. You know what I mean? Like
Not going up the.
I never really got behind the curtain. I never really got behind the curtain. I was just always looking at the giant Oz.
Mhm.
And I think that's really the biggest part of my head fuck. But at the same time, it's like there's a little bit of pride there that I didn't sign on to the thing. I never joined the CIA. I signed the contract.
Yeah.
They make you sign a billion-year
Mhm.
contract. But I didn't actually go. And so that bit of rebellion is like, I think the thing that really saved my life, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
Um, but I still like felt really damaged by it, like really shameful because I really still felt like I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, even though I was rebelling in my heart, I really thought I'm wrong. Like they know the answer. This is the answer, and I'm fucking it up. What's wrong with me? And
Mhm.
I just walked around with that all the time, right? What's wrong
Wow.
with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
That's a weight.
It's you know, and not, you know, like you say, wait, it's interesting because that is part of the brainwash head fuck is the weight of it all. We are the only people, that's what they tell you. We're the only people that can save humanity. Humanity is killing itself, which is obvious, which is evident, right? We can't deny that. And they're crazy animals. And the only way to save them is this doctrine of blah, 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 a spiritual enlightenment shortcut sort of thing, sort of pop psychology. And and it's on you. You
Mhm.
know, it's on you. And you're really raised with that, this idea that you have this responsibility to save humanity. And we are the only ones that can do it. We're the only ones. Without us, humanity is doomed. And that's just the end of that story. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a way. I
Where did
think,
that take you from there, where you're kind of carrying this Scientology weight and you're trying to find your place out there in Hollywood? Tell me about that. And I know you dealt with, horrible relationships and just dealing with, family issues and shit like that. Like I understand, but like I said, you can go into whatever you're most comfortable with talking about.
you're like Barbara Walters over here. You're gonna make me cry.
Sorry. I mean, like I said, if you're not comfortable, I don't encourage you
No,
to.
I'm an open book, man. I don't give a shit. This is
Yeah.
like, I feel like there's a lot of value in being open and honest. You
Mhm.
know, I got sober through the rooms of AA, and that's all about just like speaking your heart and
Yeah.
speaking your mind and telling your truth and no judgment. And anybody who judges me is wrong, and I know that. I don't have to worry about that. And anybody, yeah. So I'm fine with it. It's just now I've forgotten what we're even talking about.
So,
That's just the problem. Like, wait, what we're talking about? Um, because yeah, really I don't. But growing up this way, how did I what did I do with it? I don't even know. Like again, like I didn't like I kind of kept one foot in the door. So I kept, a lot of most of the jobs, most of the business, most of the people I worked for were Scientology people, Scientology businesses. The acting school I went to was a Scientology run place, owned and operated by a guy called Mel Katsalas, who turned out to be a sex pest, of course. And and but a good school. I like that school. I met some good people there. And there's a couple of really good teachers like that, but like I don't know. I think that it was sort of like I just never really wanted to like I never really had the confidence to completely leave that community. As much as I was never I was always kind of like at odds with it, I never really left it until I had no choice, until I was, homeless, like and then in hindsight realizing that that was all like I needed to escape. Like it's weird to think of that, but that is the nature of the master slave relationship. It's like the horse. You don't have to tie the rein to the banister. You just have to put it there. And the horse doesn't think it can walk. It thinks it can't walk away, so it doesn't even try.
yep.
So yeah, so that's what that was. And what I don't know, what was the question? What else am I talking about?
So no, it's okay. Like just growing up and living in Hollywood, I know you brought it up a little bit on Opie and Anthony, saying that you were in a shit relationship. Because believe me, I was in a very physical and mentally abusive relationship, so I understand. And you said you before you even started drinking, you lost everything. So I didn't know if you want to go into details about that.
Yeah, well, how do I put that? Well, yeah, because okay, there's all this stuff. And again, like back then I didn't know any of it. I didn't understand any of the sort of harmful nature of any of this stuff. I thought I was wrong. I carry the burden of my whatever damage. And that's a big narrative in the church, in Scientology. I don't call it a church, excuse me, the cult of Scientology.
Oh yeah,
That's a big narrative there too, is that you're responsible, you're responsible, you're responsible. It's similar to this sort of like the Catholic Maya Culpa thing, like it's all my fault, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I never thought anything else were true. Right. Where am I now? So there's that. And then I'm also a fag.
oh, it's fine. Yeah. So
I'm also queer, as it turns out, or like on a spectrum, as it were,
sure,
both
yeah.
and sexuality. It's not a binary. That's part of the mistake of the way we talk about them. It's not a binary. And I am absolute evidence of that. I read as both father and mother to a lot of people. But that's beyond the point. The point is, um, that's another thing I had kind of carrying around with me that was really fucking me up. And sexual repression is like, I think one of the most dangerous things in the world. I think the sexually repressed man is the sexually repressed homosexual man is one of the most dangerous creatures on the planet. JD Vance, I'm talking to you. JD Vance,
But
Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, you remember when he was hanging out with that football player, slicking his hair back? Yeah, okay. Uh, Mike Johnson, I'm sorry. Mike Johnson is either a repressed homosexual or a Soviet spy because there is no way you get that far in life and have that little of a personality. There is no way you are that little of a person if you are not hiding some
right.
fundamental core part of
Mhm.
yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I pick on those guys and go fuck them if they don't like it.
Yeah.
JD Vance, you couch fucking. Anyway, okay, so I'm sorry, he pisses me off
It's
because he's
okay. You're good.
stupid. He
Yeah.
is so wrong every time he speaks. I'm like, he's 14. He's 14. It's a
Ah,
14-year-old. It's a 14-year-old adolescent. It's like first hearing about, you first heard about Howard Zim or something. And he's like, oh, they're lying to us. Yes, yes, JD Vance. Yes, they did their best. And history is written by the winners and all that shit, right? So, what was I on about? So that was on there too. But I was in this long-term relationship with somebody, with a woman. I,
mhm.
I feel like I should not name because I don't think she'll
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
I do not think she'll appreciate that. But it was very tumultuous and it was very violent. And I was not necessarily, I didn't think that I mean, I was on board. I wasn't like sitting there going, but I'm not really here. I'm like, no, I was there. It was a genuine relationship for me. It
Of course.
wasn't like I was like secretly a faggot the whole time or
Right.
something. Because people think that. I'm like, and it's really not like that. And again, because it's not a binary, it's not that simple. And relationships are not that simple.
No, not at all.
Love is not that simple.
No, not at all.
None of this stuff is that simple. And I absolutely was in love with this person. That's
Mhm.
beside the point, what their gender is or was or whatever. So, but it was tense, it was a very tense kind of like, tough. And it ultimately, I guess the kind of like thing to say about it that is kind of fucked is like at the end of it, recognizing and again not recognizing until later that I was in an abusive relationship, that this
Mhm.
person was actually like really, really violent towards me. And at the how it ended was and she had a lot of internal rage that was not
Yeah.
about, that's the thing, hurt people is
Yeah.
cliche
100.
goes. But like, people have all this like kind of stuff, and I've had so much more experience with what that means since.
Yeah.
Certainly everybody on the streets is penting up something. You see that homeless guy screaming at that building in the middle of the afternoon. He's talking to somebody he just can't
Talking
talk.
to somebody's pissed. Yeah.
Talking, he's pissed and it's real. And he's talking to some dead guy. He's talking to his dead father or something like that, but he's got to get it out. Anyway, that's the only way to get it out is to get drunk and scream at the buildings.
Mhm.
Um, so she would, get drunk and scream at me. But how that ended was we were fighting and fighting for days, and our neighbors were really cool and they really liked us. So it wasn't like this happened all the time, but somebody eventually did call the police. And the cops came. And normally, when you have a domestic dispute of this nature, yeah, well, in California, because of Dominic Dunn. Do you know this story? Have I told this
Yep.
story?
Yep.
But then we have the law where you have to like if there's a domestic dispute, somebody gets arrested, somebody goes away,
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
has to go because they can't just they used to be like just go for a walk, sleep it off or whatever, just come back in the morning. And the guy came back and he killed his girlfriend. So now they changed the rules. You can't kill TV celebrities, damn it. And they changed the rules. They changed. But normally in these cases, of course, they arrest the man. But as it turned out, my face was covered in blood. Now I didn't even know that. But the cop comes in, he's got his gun drawn, and I get up on the bed, and she's out there screaming at me, taunting me. She's out there in the living room going, "You're gonna get fucked, and you don't drop the soap, motherfucker." She's going on about how I'm gonna be in the jail and get all fucked up in jail. So, um, and I get up on the bed, and the cop looks at me, and he puts his gun away, and then he calls the other cop over, and she looks down the hall, and they both change their mind. The arrangement is switched, and they arrested her and they took her to, and she went to jail and she had to do like whatever. I don't know what she had to
Mm.
do,
Yeah.
but we never talked again. We never spoke again.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, was like it wasn't until after it all, until they were all gone, I went in the bathroom and I had blood all over my face. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize why. Like, I didn't even understand in the moment. And except I said to him when he told me that they were going to arrest her, I went, oh, no, 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 no. She'll get so mad. She'll be so mad at me. So, like, now in hindsight, I realize, oh, that might have been an indicator. But I didn't even realize till later that I had blood on my face. And I don't think she even knows that, which I think is funny. I wonder if she even understands that, because we've never really spoken about it. And I tried to get in touch with her on Facebook, and I did find her actually through a mutual friend, but
Okay.
she didn't want to talk to me. We had like one or two exchanges, and it was basically like she didn't want. Yeah, that's all
I get
right.
that. At least, and that's the thing. Like, I think you're going, look, let's, because I've had to do that with a relationship that I was in, where it's like, look, I'm holding on to this weight. I need to let it go. Let me at least approach you and go, look, da 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 da. Let me let this out. It's part of my healing process, part of getting sober. Did you kind of go through that process?
I tried, right? Like I said, I did contact her and I did start to kind of talk to her, and she, it was like one, two, three, and the third message was, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be your
Mhm.
friend.
Sure, of
And you're not supposed to push that stuff, so it's fine.
course.
Because like I'm triggering to her, you know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, and yes, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of weight. There's a lot of unresolved. There's a lot of like things I still think about. Like, did she know that that was happening? Like, I don't know if she understood, like, whatever it was, like things like that. But whatever. That's your life is full of those things.
Mhm.
It's not the regrets. It's the things you couldn't figure out or couldn't communicate, or those things that get confused, and everything's getting even more and more confused.
And
Anyway, what are we talking about now?
you said you were no, it's okay. You were talking about how you read Bob Dylan's book and
Oh
you
yeah, when I came to New York, yeah.
yeah, when you came to New York. So you're still performing in Washington Square Park, all that.
And I think that's what drew me there.
Yeah.
And that was all about like when Bob Dylan came to New York, he came looking for Woody Guthrie,
We
and
got
he
there.
found Woody Guthrie in Washington Square Park, and the village, and that area was not the Lower East Side, but the village more West Village was a hub of like the folky folks, right? And and famous for it. I'm not breaking any news here.
No.
But and Burroughs and Ginsberg and those guys too, they were all over that.
Yeah.
And also even like Ricky Lee Jones and Tom Waits and stuff like that. Like there's all these little like these particular narratives of people that I know that are in these places. So you go to these places because that's what I don't know. I don't know. That wasn't even why. I don't know why I went there. I just went there. No, again, okay. Well, what are you asking me about the Bob Dylan thing? Like, how much of the Bob Dylan thing mattered to me? I mean, Bob Dylan matters. Bob Dylan matters a lot.
You
We
probably
could
got
just
a
talk about
number of
Bob
it.
Dylan.
Yeah.
But I was like going like, did I go to Washington Square Park because of Bob Dylan? I don't know if that's true. It
Right.
sounds good, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. Um, but then that is part of their like tour guide is the Woody Guthrie, not the Bob Dylan stuff, but the Woody Guthrie stuff and the music and the protests and the way that that was a center of a place where people, students and rallies and movements and things that mattered back when the day when things really mattered. Um, and a lot of that energy was still there. But they were ripping it up.
Mhm.
That's the thing about right gentrification. Like even as I got there, let's see, they started doing renovations, that ripping out trees, and then they centered the fountain, which I'm still offended by this because the reason this there's the arch. And the reason the fountain is off center is to provide a long way around and a short way around, right? This side, that's the short way, and that's the long way. And back when the time when it was actually horse and buggy traffic, that was the right. But like they don't know that, and they just want it to be centered because that looks good or something, right? Right. So it's like, what's the why? Why are we doing this? I
Right.
don't know.
Are you
It's just
messing up?
superfluous bullshit. And I'm just a purist, and I just I was going to chain myself to trees and save, save the. There was this big leaning tree they were going to rip out, and I was like, I love that tree. Don't take my
Yeah,
tree.
don't take the
And
tree.
then stupidly they ripped out the cherry blossom trees too. There was this beautiful cherry blossom tree up on a little hill. It was gorgeous. And I was like, why would you pull that out?
Brutal.
But whatever.
But yeah, so what was your going into New York? I mean, you left LA. and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to New York. I know it's
I
easy.
left LA, right. I had this sort of nervous breakdown. After that, I was alone. And I was alone for like the first time, I think, in my life.
Hmm.
And I just kind of I had a bit of a nervous breakdown. I really just like didn't even know what the fuck anything meant or what mattered or anything did anything matter. You know, you go from thinking everything matters so much to wanting, nothing matters. And I don't know, this is hard. This is hard to talk about. I don't even
Oh,
know
you're
what to
fine.
talk
You
about.
don't have to dive
There
into.
was this sort of moment where like I felt like the world shifted
Yeah.
and I changed and I couldn't and then anybody who came around from whatever whoever the Scientology people, whether it be or just people I knew in LA, was like nobody made any sense to me anymore. And everybody was talking about a world I didn't know or a story I didn't understand. And I don't even know how to like I think that's the best I can explain. I don't even know how else to say that.
Yeah.
But I ended up in New York really out of because I had nowhere else to go. And at the time, I had a sister
Mm.
who was living here in upstate in Westchester, but only part-time. At the time, actually, she was in Florida doing her Scientology 6-month check, which is funny because when I tell this story
Oh,
before,
so
why is she in Florida? Now we know why she's
now
in
we know
Florida.
why. Yeah.
Um, so, because that's where Clearwater is, and that's where the Flag Land base is. Anyway, so, blah 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 blah. So yeah, so I think the only reason she conceded to this was because she wasn't going to be there, and it was just me and her husband. Her husband was in the house, and her husband was an investment banker, real stuff shirt, like the definition of it, and he hated me. He just hated me, right? And we would just sit there and stare at each other like, what the fuck? What are you? What are you? You're some sort of alien. I don't
I'm
even know.
envisioning just this stuffy businessman versus LA hippie.
Worse, worse. He was like kind of hot when he was young. So
Okay.
he was more than he was the stuffed shirt, but also like he had a vibrato or he had a little like ego more than even than what stuffy like necessarily. He was a little more full of himself.
Oh,
But
okay.
but he thought nothing of me.
Yeah.
And this I love this story. So he went to Florida at some point and for Christmas, right? And so I was alone for Christmas. Actually, that's not true. Gavin came and
Yeah.
stayed for Christmas. Doesn't matter. But when he came back, we had this weirdest conversation. And I asked him about like I didn't understand like camping. He said that he went camping while they were there. And I had this naive notion that Florida was just Everglades. And I was like, where do you go camping in Florida? Like I remember that show with the kid with the boat, with the big fan boat, right? And I was like, isn't that Florida? I don't know. I don't know Florida. I've never been to Florida.
Right.
Um, but he didn't know that word. I said the word Everglades at him. He didn't even know what I was talking about. He kind of blanked out on me, and it was really weird. And he got really mad at me. And at some point, I said the word ironic. And this is a very Scientology thing to do. Like if he says, okay, I said a word, and he doesn't think I used the word right. So rather than saying to me, I don't think you would use that word right, he goes, that's not what that word means. What are you stupid? This is Scientology. This is what Scientology does. Okay. So it's not, I'm not sure if I think you might be misusing that term, dude. It was, right? It's fucking idiot. And I was like, ironic. Now he doesn't know we have our generation has a relationship with this word because of Alanis
Sure.
Morissette
Yeah.
and Winona Ryder, Reality Bites. So I know that irony is when the literal definition is the exact opposite of its figurative definition. What sounds like is the opposite of what it actually is, or what it looks like or feels like in the reality. So I say that to him. That's not what that means. And he gets all again, and he pulls the standard issue Scientology Red Unabridged dictionary, the big dictionary off the shelf, because every Scientologist has one. And he looks up the word, and I watch him. I watch him sit there, and he reads the sentence. He looks at me. He reads the sentence again, closes the book, puts it back, walks out of the room, never spoke to me again.
Wow. That's
You,
hilarious.
you tell me what that is.
Right.
So he thought I was an idiot, and sometimes I'm an idiot, but sometimes I do know things.
You know what you mean talking about.
And he really didn't like that. He really, really didn't like that.
Yeah. So tell me about your music, just being in New York and
Okay, so the music. Okay, so I come to New York.
Yeah.
I'm staying in that house with the stuffed shirt who hates me.
Hmm.
And I'm trekking back and forth into the city to work a minimum wage job at Tower Records or Tower Video, the Tower
Oh
Video
wow.
store of Tower Records fame.
Hmm.
I was there to watch that shutter. I miss it still. I
Yeah.
like Tower. It was a fun job. And it was like the kind of responsibility-free young person job I never had when I was a young person.
That
You
was
know?
my first job was working in a record store. So yeah, I know.
Yes, I had all grown-up jobs from the time I was like 14. So like to have a teenager job was great, even though I was pushing 30.
Right.
I love that place. I made some really good friends there. And what was the point of that? Was oh, because very adjacent to that is Washington Square Park. So I started hanging out at Washington Square Park, and I immediately met Looters Massilian,
Mhm.
who's the guy that the Georgia guy. And that was the night. Okay, so I don't remember why I was there. I don't remember necessarily and why I had my guitar with me, but I had a nice guitar. I had a Takamine guitar when I first came to New York. And it's $1,000. That fucking guitar. We we overpaid, but still, it was a nice guitar. Anyway, uh, and I was there, and I literally we were, oh, there was a band that did like Beatles covers.
Yeah.
I love the Beatles,
Yep.
and they did kind of like hippy dippy kind of bongo drum kind of Beatles covers.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I was loving it. So I sat, and there was a little group of people sitting in the front who I now know were the Drunken Mafia.
Mhm.
And I'm a hippie kid from California, so I was like, yeah, I sat with the dudes up front and sang along to the hippie songs, sang along to the Beatles songs. And Lewis heard me sing, and he immediately turns to me and he hands me a Poland Spring bottle full of vodka. Here, vodka.
Vodka.
That's how I met Lewis Massilian. And I drank too much and I passed out and they took my guitar.
Brutal.
But that's how I met the Drunken Mafia. And then like it was like I think the following summer I was or not I don't remember exactly the timelines, but it was a little while later I was staying with a friend called Jeremy and I would sit out in his little backyard and sing songs every morning and he's like, "Why don't you go do that outside somewhere?" Okay, let's go do it.
Hey.
I started doing that in Washington Square Park is the point. And I'd never really performed in front of people. I'd never performed live. It was really kind of the first time I really tried to do that. And uh I don't know, like the first summer I was there, I was just singing those songs. I was singing Oasis and I was singing Tears for Fears and Cranberries and stuff like that. And and then by the next summer I was I was living with them. And I'm trying to remember how that all went down. It was just I didn't the Tower closed, and then the guy I was staying with kicked me out. I was
Mhm.
renting a room from a guy downtown. He lived in the projects and he'd gone through a divorce, and so I was like living in his kid's room. And oh, this is a horrible story, but and this is what's fucked up about it. It's like these weird little circumstances. Like that would have been fine. At first, he really liked me. We were chill.
Yeah.
And then one night I came out of the room and I went into the kitchen to put a plate in the sink. And I just sort of poked my head into the living room to say hi. He was in the other room watching a movie. He's watching a bad Nicolas Cage movie called Wind Talkers
Yeah.
about World War II, in which we use Navajo language to do codes because the Nazis don't know nothing about Navajo. And Nicolas Cage has got to transport a Navajo private from point A to point B. And he doesn't want to do, he's all begrudging. He doesn't like this guy, doesn't like this guy. And it's all about this tension between these two men, which all culminates in a very homoerotic scene where they are shirtless, fighting in the mud while bombs are going off in the background. The blitzkrieg is happening, and they're covered in mud. And I poke my head into the room, and he's masturbating to this scene.
Oh my goodness.
And
Whoa.
okay, and I just
Yeah.
go. I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
But again, and that was a lot, he stopped, it was the next time I talked to him, was you have to move out. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't. And it's like I said earlier, sexuality is a complex thing,
Right. Yep.
it's a man who had a wife and he has two children and
Oh,
he watches a lot of straight porn, but still he masturbates to the homoerotic. He masturbates to the stuff I did when I was 14.
right. Yeah. Exactly. That's wow. And that's it's one of those things where it's such a weird situation that he can't come to terms with, you know?
It's common. I think it's really, really common. I
Yeah.
think it's one of the biggest problems of the world right now
Yeah.
in general. I think
Right.
it's very, very common. The sort of and the shame and the guilt and the weirdness that men in general, men more specifically, more so than women. Because
Hmm.
with women, it's not as big a deal. It's not as big of a stigma. It's even like a rite of passage to have like had a girlfriend at some point. You
Right.
know, there's that movie about the seven X's. One of the
Hmm.
seven X's is a girl, and
Yeah.
that just made sense, right? Um, but for the men, it's different.
But when did you start? Because I remember during the episode of Opie and Anthony, you had a, like a demo CD in your pocket. When did you start going, okay, this is going to become, I want to record, I want to start kind of getting my music out, even though I'm still living on the streets?
I don't know that I've even, I don't know that I even yet do I even believe that. I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
I really, I don't know. Like that's part of the problem
Yeah.
is I don't like have that like I don't have that like what I'm doing is so great and I need to like push it on people. Like I like what I do, I think. Actually, I don't even love what I do. I feel like what I do is incomplete. I
Right.
feel like I need like I need band or something. You know,
Need a
like that's
band,
what I've
right?
never really had, you know. And every time I've been connected, hooked up with a guitar player, they either fuck off to Brazil or die.
Hmm.
So I just kind of keep getting left by myself, and I don't want to. I don't want to do this by myself. And I'm not really a guitar player. Like I don't really have a passion for the instrument. It's not my, I'm a singer and melody and words and things. There's other things that I'm preoccupying myself with when I'm performing, and the guitar just becomes a distraction.
Hmm.
I've never really been good at it, and I've always kind of resented it in a way. And
Hmm.
I maybe that's my problem. That's my
Sure.
block, whatever. But um I like so much more collaborating. I like so much more working with other people. I like so much more, not having to do it all by myself.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but don't we all?
Jeff Buckley was like that. Jeff Buckley loved
Yeah.
having a band with him.
Well, and he also had that guy. In the
Yeah.
very beginning of Jeff Buckley was that dude who taught him how to play guitar.
Yeah. True. That is very true. But still, he was just like he wanted the band. He was used to performing at live at Cine, but he's like, I would love to just have a
He
full
didn't want to
band.
just
So,
be a solo artist.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. I love Jeff. When
Yeah, I
he
love
first, I remember the first time I heard, I'm trying to remember if it was Grace or Last Goodbye. I
it. Hmm.
think it was Last Goodbye. But I just remember thinking he's doing something that I feel like men don't want to do, which is just to sound so fucking beautiful
Yeah.
and not worry about it. Like not worry about what, like George Michael was sounded beautiful too, but he
Yeah.
was all, he had to, he had a whole other thing going on.
Right.
It was just so beautiful, and he was just such a dude about it, and there was something so kind of cool about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to get these videos. I was signed up to some like I don't remember who it was, what record label or something, but they would send you once a week. They'd send you a video of all the new music videos that were coming out that week.
Mhm.
And I remember that was on that video.
That's wild. So
Yeah, Jeff was amazing. Jeff was amazing balls. Yeah, that first record is amazing. The Hallelujah cover is one of the, they tag the creep thing the greatest cover ever. I'm like Hallelujah. No, I think the greatest cover ever is actually Otis Redding's cover of Try a Little Tenderness. I
yes.
think that is like the best thing.
Yeah.
But and then Aretha's take on his R.E.S.P.C.T. Respect rather
That's
R.E.S.P.C.T. R.E.S.P.C.T. R-E-S-P-C-T.
yep.
Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T. Taking care of TCB.
Yep.
It's redundant. Taking care of business, but that's all right.
Yep.
Um, that I think is the best cover. Anyway, the Hallelujah cover, and what I love so much also is how much of a life that song has had since. Like that song has been covered a billion times since then. And I don't think it had been covered like that. I think Jeff's really the one that kind of put it on the map in a way. Not that Leonard Cohen wasn't doing a fine job
No.
himself, but he is kind of an underground character. He is kind of a counterculture character, and Jeff was very mainstream.
Hmm.
And that's how that works. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of a cover like that, like Dolly Parton had, and then Whitney Houston did, it's like that's how that works.
Yeah, definitely. And so tell me about after the whole Opie and Anthony thing, tell me where it went from there. Cause I know Opie was trying to help you kind of like record and,
Opie was, yeah, there was a guy there and I can't remember his name, man. And he had a couple of names, and at one point I thought he was two different people.
was he Troy Kwan?
Say what?
Troy Kwan?
Troy, yeah,
Yeah,
with the
Troy. Yeah.
hair. He
Mhm.
had that he had that hipster haircut.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had that um he had the same haircut that Nebraska. Anyway, yeah, Troy. It's a really funny story. The funny thing happened on the way to the forum, right? Or the Palladium or something, right? Um, so I was on my way to go do that.
Mhm.
And we stopped in McDonald's, and I was with Russell,
Yeah.
who's the guitar player from Jersey, good kid, born on April 1st, born on April Fools. And we stopped in McDonald's, I think to use the bathroom, and there was looters and the Drunken Mafia.
Mhm.
And so we just, had a drink or two or 10. And then by the time I got there, I was so fucking wasted. I don't even remember. I don't
Okay. Right.
I don't remember. I don't honestly remember. I was a blackout drinker.
Yeah.
And I vaguely remember I vaguely remember like maybe 2 minutes of the whole experience. And I don't think I ever even heard any recordings of anything from that. So I don't really know, that was some self-sabotage at its best. That's what alcoholism is. That's what, that's booze, a hell of a drug. That's why we need recovery.
Yep.
Um,
But yeah, I
and
mean, you eventually did put out. I think it was a year later. You came back and were
We
kind of
did
doing.
put out, okay. So in the interim, I'm sorry, you're
Oh,
good. It's prompt me. You got to prompt me. I keep forgetting where I'm going.
no, you're
So in
good.
the interim, okay, there was a dude, and I can't remember his name. Shit. All right. So there was a guy. Okay. He worked at a club on Bleecker Street,
Mhm.
and I can't remember the name of the club even, but he was in a band.
Yeah.
And he had heard me sing, and he knew who I was, and he liked my thing, my vibe or whatever. And we had met, and he wanted to do something with his band.
Sure.
I listened to his band. His band reminded me kind of a Toad Wet Sprocket, which
Mhm.
I like, which is a good thing.
Nice. Very
And I
good.
was like, yeah, let's do that. And then I went to rehab and 30 days, right? And then when I came back, by the time I came back, him and his band had fucked off to Raleigh, to North Carolina.
Wow.
And the guy that replaced him as the booking agent at that club, the guy who replaced him in his job, his day job,
Yeah.
was also happened to be a music producer. And I don't even understand exactly how it happened, to be honest. But it was like I just got kind of passed on to the other guy.
Sure.
He just sort of like, hey, you want to do this instead of because we're not going to do it. So Hat Pardo is who that guy is still. And James Bertuzzi was his partner.
Mhm.
And so the three of us recorded or whatever, they helped me record the two EPs, the first two. I don't remember what they were called. What's the first one called? Is it called?
Um,
It's just called Daniel Mustard?
I think it was Daniel Mustard and then fragments of both.
Fragments. Yeah, fragments. The other one, I should have just been fragments, but
No,
that's
you're, yeah.
it's okay. Yeah, that one. I love the picture. I love the photograph on the cover of
Great.
that. And that was such a fun moment. Like we were out all day with this Dutch photographer.
Mhm.
And it was just totally I was just hot and sweaty,
Yep.
just doing what I do. And he just snatched a picture of it. And there's a PJ Harvey cover where she's
Mhm.
got, 50 Queenie, something Queenie. And so it just reminded me of that. I was like, yeah, let's do that. Because I love PJ Harvey. Um, so yeah, like I don't know. What do you want to know? Like the experience of recording those records, I don't know, it was funny for me a lot because I felt like I was not really very much part of the process. Again, there was and still is sometimes this kind of like treating me a little bit like a charity case, like the bum that's
Sure.
just getting a break or something. And that's fine, but I'd really rather work with people who think better of me and think
Sure.
better of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Who I don't know, I didn't feel like they really appreciated I don't know. I feel like this sounds so
No,
whiny.
go ahead.
Like,
Yeah.
they didn't appreciate me as an artist, but
Right.
I did feel like I was no more important than the mixing board or a
Okay.
guitar pick or something. And I guess that's probably how artists feel a lot of the time.
Sure.
I was just listening to something about primitive radio guides and how that guy described being in the music business as rape, right? And so
No.
he was like, that's why he walked away from it. It was like, yeah, that's all right. And I've heard lots of those stories. Bill Withers is one of my favorite guys ever, and he just stopped one day. He just said, I'm going to stop doing this,
Yeah.
and that was cool. He didn't have to keep going. He's all right. And it's because it is a cutthroat, evil little business. And yeah, there's a Mark Wahlberg even has said that apparently somebody else told me this, but apparently, when asked, because he's always asked if he'll ever make any more music. Because of course, some of us remember he did
Marky
once
Mark and the Funky Bunch.
he once did have good vibrations. He did once dance in his underwear. Yes, we remember Marky. We remember Mark before he was a father, before he was a movie star.
Yeah.
But he says, no, it's such a cutthroat business. These people are awful. The movie business, the movie people, as bad as they are, they're so much better than the music people. So, there's a reason. There's a reason why things and there's a lot of people who don't really have something like trying to like hook onto everybody else's whatever they got. And it's hard. It's hard to have, or there's a lot of like, there's very little like, I like what you do. Can I contribute? It's much more, I'm not sure about what you do, but maybe if you put my thing on your thing, maybe it might be something worth, like that sort of attitude. Like, and it is very arm's length. It is sort of very sort of like hostile business kind of tactic
Right.
keeping you not sure if you're of value, what your value is.
Right.
That's part of the tactic. So I don't know what my value is, and so they can just they can negate it or lessen it or define however they like.
Right. And it
Without
just,
going on too much.
I was wondering because he kept posting a lot of your videos and stuff like that. I'm like, did you guys really like have like we're kind of helping each other out, or was he just trying to use you as another viral moment?
Opie,
Yeah, Opie, yeah.
Anthony, huh. I couldn't answer that question. The thing they brought me back for like to do the We Are the World thing. Like that was obviously a hokey gimmicky thing, and that was actually fun. I like
Yeah, it
that
was.
crazy cowgirl lady, the Jugs lady. I don't remember her name, but I know there's a great old look it up. There's this great old interview with her on Tom Snyder, and she's on about her jugs. She says jugs like 50 times. It's so funny to me. She's like, I got jugs, so took out my jugs, and now I got my jugs, and here's my jugs. And she cracks me up. This woman cracks me up, and there she is. And I'd seen her perform once on the Upper East Side in a bar where she was like clearly hired for like a party. And she's that's the kind of like Venice Beach kind of Hollywood Boulevard crazy person that I'm used to. Like that to me is home. She's very familiar to me. And so I was very sympathetic to her because they were awful to her.
Oh,
They
yeah.
smashed her guitar that one morning. They were so horrible to her. They really just trashed her and really talked shit about her because that was her thing was she was like so thirsty. She's so desperate to be on that show. And it's like, well, then we're going to take advantage of you and treat you like shit. So, I don't like that. I don't like that. But,
I get
that's, but so I was trying to have fun with that, We Are the World stuff. I love that song. I was like 12 or 13 when that came out. I was like, yeah, I could do all the voices. I didn't even know who most of those people were. I didn't know who Bob Dylan was. I was already mimicking his voice.
yeah.
Um, and did I feel I don't know like whatever that's just it that's just the nature of all of it now like were they trying to explain and it just I don't know were they trying to help me out whatever if either thing happened that's why not you know what I mean there was a little bit of like but that's part of the problem I guess because there wasn't any real commitment to actual help because it really was just more about like well we'll help you but like and but really I don't know I don't know how to qualify what was more was it more this or more that? It was both things.
Right. Did you
Either
guys even just like talk and go? Because I saw he posts a lot of your videos on his YouTube, and they're still there. And I'm going, were you guys kind of was he like, let me help you kind of generate the ball, like get the ball rolling for you?
yeah, yes, like he did actually come downtown one day and hung out with us for a little
Okay.
while because they were doing like a documentary. They interviewed him for like which I never saw. I never saw any of this. I have no idea what happened to that. But there's all sorts of documentary footage out there. They
Mhm.
were shooting the whole thing the whole time. Someday, right? The basement tapes.
Yeah.
And be on Earth. And uh yeah, absolutely. Like it was so funny though. See, this is what's wrong with me. Like he said he was talking to me about wanting his desire to help me and to like really help me. And he said the word he flubbed the word humanitarian. And
Mhm.
I just went, oh, if you can't say it. And it came off, yeah, it came off kind of snotty, I realized, and I didn't
Sure.
mean to, but at the same time, like he didn't believe him. That's why he's doesn't, you know what I mean? Like that's how I read that. And that's
Yeah.
me, that's my crazy. Like I feel like,
Probably
oh,
fine.
yeah, you didn't believe that. That's why it came out that way. And I just comment on it because I'm neurodivergent. I don't know better. Like I don't know how to like self-preserve. I don't know how to like save myself from this. Also, I lost his card. He gave me his card and he wrote his phone number on it, like the direct line on it. He gave me his like not his home number, but like a direct phone number. And I have no idea. I thought I put it in the little fifth pocket, the fifth pocket, right? I'm pretty sure that's what I did, but like when I went to get it later, it wasn't there. And I still to this day have no idea what happened to that. And that's one of those like, I might just be crazy enough that I just like dropped that on the floor in front of him or something and I don't even realize it. Or I don't know, I just don't know. And it's stuff like that that like pains me. Like I kind of fucked that up, right? But honestly, I'm sure if I hit him up, he's got a podcast.
Yeah, he's got a podcast. That's why I was wondering. I'm like, have you ever thought about contacting him and just going,
I feel like I want to have something. I feel like I want to make an actual record and then like that and then go to him and go like I got a thing.
yeah,
Because I'm sure he would. If I said I got a thing, would you let me come on and promote it? I'm sure he would.
sure.
So yeah, I think that would be easy enough. I don't want to squander it, I guess. And also I don't know. I don't know, maybe after talking to you, maybe I should like call him up. Maybe he might want to talk to me again after all
Oh,
these
that'd be
years.
cool.
Although I feel like I'm a little embarrassed that I haven't done more with my time, to be honest.
But
Like
you've been
I
doing
feel like
like you're still putting stuff out there on YouTube. I'm like, you
I'm
may
trying
not
to
be
become
taking the
right.
studio time, but you're still going, no, I'm still fucking doing this shit. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I still do it. It is compulsive, not for nothing. I'm constantly, yeah, and it's just constantly coming. And it doesn't stop. As I was thinking about this earlier today, there was this kid I knew in the park from Georgia, the country, not the state. Eastern European Slavic kid, very enthusiastic in a way that only Eastern European Slavic kids can be. Altruistic in a way that Americans aren't. No, there's nothing jaded about this guy, is all I'm saying. And New York hadn't gotten to him yet. And we were just hanging out one night in the atrium, and he was so enthusiastic and so thrilled, and da da da. And he just turns to me in this great big exuberant, just thrilled, joyful moment. He says, "Isn't it so wonderful to have music in your life?" And it's like, and I'm like such a jaded asshole. I'm like, I don't know, I guess. Yes, and I said to him, and this kind of devastated him. I said to him, yeah, but sometimes I wish I could turn it off. And this broke his heart. It honestly did. And I didn't mean to, but it really upset him. Like he was really upset by this. But like to speak to that, yes, it's always on, it's always there. It's I don't want to call it a burden or nothing because it's not. But it is kind of like it's just, yeah, I don't know, like like, I really honestly don't know what the fuck else I could possibly do. I feel like I have a very particular function, but
Sure.
like evolutionarily speaking, this is bad. There's a word for it when animals only eat a one thing, or they only like they don't evolve, they don't evolve well, they don't we have it. I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but it doesn't matter. Like I feel like that. I feel like I'm just built for one thing, and I don't really have much else to. I got a smart mouth.
But but you're the thing is you're really good at it. You're good at, you have a great voice. Lyrically, you know what the fuck you're doing. And you have a story. You know what I mean? Like I like finding artists and reading authors and poets who have been through some shit and
Yeah,
have a feeling behind their songs. They're
yeah,
not copy paste people. And that's the thing is that I understand because I'm a musician as well. And it's a weight on your head if you don't get it out of you. You know what I mean? And you got to find a way to do it. And it is a gift and a curse at the same time. But in your instance, you have the great fucking voice and you have the talent, you know?
It's so funny too because even in moments where people are trying to like maybe talk to me about, well, maybe you want to try something else, it's like, but you have that voice. That's one of those things that it comes back to. It's like, yeah, but like this, really, I'm not supposed to do that because it really feels like that's what I'm supposed to do. Even the way I talk, like I had an MRI a few years ago. I'm in the MRI machine and I'm writing a melody to the beeps and the bops that the goddamn machine makes. You know what I mean? Like, what
I
am
do
I?
that too. Yeah, I do that.
I'm not gonna do that. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
And I don't think, is that normal? I don't think that's
No, it's
normal.
normal.
I
It's
don't know if it's such a great thing, but it just is.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like I've always been because I've done drums and keys and stuff. So anything, and it's just probably my ADD, ADHD brain where it's like if there's something like a did it, I'm immediately going. adding a beat to it, finding
Their
something.
rhythm. If the rhythm is there, it's just
Yeah,
that's
if
how it is.
it's there.
And that's Ludus. Ludus used to say all about the rhythm. It's all about the
Yep.
rhythm. You
Hmm.
find your rhythm. It doesn't even matter the notes. You find your rhythm, and that's where you go, and you go off of that. And that's what, yeah, and it's car alarms. It's especially in New York. There's all sorts of noises going on, all sorts of alarms, all sorts of, you're like, "Ah, this, that, that, that." And then like where I live now, and again, New York is again, what's one of the great things about living in a big city like this is there's music playing all over the place. There's people playing music all over the place, whether it be shops or just people out on the block or the cars like, and so like you're always being hooked into all sorts of other stuff like going on. Like there's a lot of Caribbean stuff in my neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
And I don't love, well, no, I do love. It's so funny. I grew up with going to a lot like reggae festivals and stuff like that. Like there was
Yeah.
a lot of that in the 80s. And people were obsessed with Bob Marley and all that.
Hmm.
And I always had this kind of annoyance or resentment towards reggae, the upstroke,
Really?
as it were.
Huh?
I never really loved it. But it's all right. It's all right. I shouldn't even mention. I should
No, you're good.
because I love Bob Marley. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
shit. Because Marley's a king. But it's all like it's interesting how like although what's also interesting to me about millennial music is it is not precious. They do not care about genre. They're
No,
just kind of like whatever,
just
it's
whatever. And that's
whatever it is that touched me.
yeah.
And here's the thing I used to joke about all the time was at the end of the millennium, we made all those lists. We made all the lists of all the best movies and all the best records and all the best songs and all the blah, blah, blah. And the millennials, they paid attention. They looked at our lists and they didn't have to bother with any of the waste. They didn't have to bother with any of the shit. They just went straight for the good stuff, straight for the hearts. And so then they had, that's a real cheat sheet. They went off of the cliff notes and,
Right.
do their own thing. And I like it. I like it. I don't, it's fun to not like hate on youth culture.
That's true because
As much as I can't, but
no,
it's
I
good to
get it.
not.
Because it's an easy thing to jump on considering our age where you just go, oh, I don't understand that, so I hate it. No, you dive in and go, let me understand this more. Let me learn everything
Well,
that's
no, I've
going on.
always been good at that. I've
Yeah,
always been good at, I don't understand that. I want to
I
understand that.
want to understand it. Yep.
Let me accommodate for that. Let me find the way in.
Hmm.
Like death metal music or just like this, like I like groovy mellow, but
Yeah.
but then there's the hard, the more louder, abrasive music. Like
Right.
I have to find my way into it. That's okay. But like, that's fine. You can find your way in.
Yep.
Um, so like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like even with just your songwriting process, are you take notes? Do you just leave it all in your head? Tell me about because you still
Oh yeah,
putting stuff out on YouTube. So
I write it all down.
okay, there you go. Yeah. So you're like me. I'm a
I've got the infamous notebook.
yeah. I got
Somebody
no.
made fun of me about this. It's like, I just have a notebook. Why wouldn't I have a notebook? I have piles of these. I have stacks of these.
Yeah.
That's what also the thing that bugs me because I feel like I wonder sometimes when I'm just like I have some like disorder because there is a disorder like where people just compulsively write things
Sure. Yeah.
and like I worry sometimes that I just have this disorder because I'm just compulsively doing this all the time.
Just writing everything.
And I do have stacks of notebooks, and it doesn't mean just because I do it all the time doesn't mean it's any good. It doesn't mean it's worth anything. It doesn't mean it has merit necessarily. I just want to believe that, right? We all do, I don't know the doubt, the self-doubt. It's so ridiculous, right?
Right.
I'm the miracle on 51st Street. Still, nah,
How long do I got you for? Do I got you a little bit longer?
whatever. We're just
Whatever.
chilling. It's
Just
fine.
chilling. Cool.
Just, I mean, I'm gonna have to get dinner at some point, but
No, you're good. I'll give you a couple more questions, then I'll let you go. So is that okay? Cool.
yeah.
Um, Tell me about do
Like,
you
how am I doing? Am I doing all
no, you're
right?
doing great. This is what I like. It's we're just there's no rating, no
The
progress.
point, I feel like the point of this is more, it's about hanging out. It's like
It is. It's a
it's
hang.
hanging out, having a conversation, as opposed to like, you're interviewing me, you're asking me questions, but like, I think it works better if it's just sort of
It's a
like, hey,
hang.
yeah, what's up?
Yeah.
That's
All
the
my
Joe
shit.
Rogan experience is hanging out with Joe Rogan. That's
Yeah.
what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's what the experience is, if you can call it that. But, I used to like Joe Rogan, to be honest.
Mhm.
Not
What
anymore.
it just got yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? I used to listen to it, and especially when podcasts were kind of the norm where everybody was kind of doing it. Now everybody's literally trying to do it, but back then it was a little different. But it was
Well, the
like,
future is digital feudalism. Everybody's
yeah,
got to find their place online or you don't exist in
right.
the
And that's kind of why I'm doing this. I'm just kind of getting anybody and everybody, any musician, I don't care what genre, whatever. It's just like, let's just sit, hang and just talk music and talk life. Like I think that's important
Yeah.
to get some dialogue going.
Trash.
So
No, yeah, I'm much more of a Mark Maron guy though at the end of it.
yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, if I could do a WTF style type of thing, that's kind of
Do
that's
you have
my
cats?
influence. So
You need some cats. Start
yeah.
with the cats, get a garage. It's all right. Cats. That show ended for me though when he had the president on. That was the last time I listened to him, was when he had the president on. And not that it like not that necessarily it all went downhill after that necessarily, but it's like that's the sort of thing, the momentum of the thing, like that was a peak. And it's never really going to be quite the same. And I knew like this the runoff after that was never going to be as good.
Right.
And he said the N-word on the radio. Oh,
Oh,
that
yep. That's so funny.
was so funny. And I love Mark Maron.
I love him too.
I feel like one of the things that makes his interviews so interesting, particularly the period of that I really listened to him, was him still trying to figure out what went wrong.
Mhm.
Like he would question people, he would query people about what went right. Like what did they have in their experience and their upbringing and their trajectory that allowed for, that assisted, that made things happen. And it's a lot of siblings, a lot of older brothers, aunties, Elton John and his grandmother, that kind of stuff, right? So that I found very interesting. Like Mark was trying to find the hole that was missing that
Right.
didn't quite that because you always got the sense that he felt like he didn't quite launch in the way that he wanted to. He's over that. I see him now. He's doing all this press right now, and you can see he's much more confident in who he is and
100%.
not doubting. Because there was a whole thing there where seemed to be unsure whether or not his audience for stand-up was about his success as a podcaster or his abilities as a comedian.
Yeah.
I think that he's gotten over that.
Definitely. And no, and I've noticed that he's really pushing it more online where before it was just he'd put them out, but now it's like he's posting clips, he's posting pictures, he's doing, all these kind
He's
of
doing
slow
the whole press
videos.
thing that like he's never done before.
No,
He did the thing for Vanity Fair. I watched this morning or yesterday or something. I'm like, he's everywhere right now.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
everywhere.
And
So
he's talking shit about Joe Rogan too.
might as well, you know what I mean? Like I get it because they were kind of in that because Joe Rogan being a comedian, Mark Maron being a comedian, Joe Rogan was different. You know what I mean? Like he was, but now it's like he fell into this void. Now.
Joe stopped, I think Joe just got too convinced of his own self. Like I think Dave
Okay.
Chappelle did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like when I used to watch that, one of the things I liked about Joe, okay, so I didn't care about Fear Factor. I watched that
No,
sitcom,
never, never.
but who was he barely on it?
Right.
I didn't give a shit about Fear Factor. I don't give a shit about mixed martial arts. At some point, though, Joe Rogan started smoking weed,
Hmm.
and he did two stand-up specials, right, back to back, right, on the backs of that, and talking a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned me on to him. That I really liked. I started thinking of him as being kind of a thinking man's man. Like he was kind of a brute man, but he had intellectual curiosity. He wasn't afraid of what he didn't know. It struck me as, and I appreciated that. I like that. And I feel like he was like that for a long time. And I think he's just gotten too convinced that he just knows what he knows and he just has to work with what he knows. And he doesn't have to like question anything or look beyond what is just available to him in his mind. Dave Chappelle has the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is the insulation, the bubble thing. They're just surrounded by people who don't, not necessarily sycophants, but people who don't really know how to challenge him.
It's a yes. He's a yes man. There's a lot of yes men around him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
Yeah.
don't know like whether it's yes men or just applicable people who like him, because that's the point of it. Like these are all people that really like him and think Joe Rogan is mad cool. Like they're not pretending to be his friend. They really like him,
Yeah.
but they don't challenge him.
No.
They don't challenge him at all.
Yeah.
And I think actually the last time I saw Joe, I got really mad at him because of Ben Shapiro. And they were California trashing. They were talking trash about California and they were making fun of the Lakers because there's no lakes in California. And they were making fun of the bear on the California flag. And they were making fun of the Los Angeles River.
Hmm.
And it was really pissing me off because the Joe Rogan I used to know would have looked those things up. But instead, he played into the Ben Shapiro straw man and was like, yeah, because the reason there's a grizzly bear on the California state flag is because California used to be crawling with giant fucking grizzly bears. They're California grizzly. They're extinct now, but they have been around. They had been around since the fucking Ice Age. They were huge, massive grizzly bears. Davy Crockett, who was later a senator, gained fame as a folk hero. He was a bear hunter. Disney put a coonskin cap on him, but originally it was a bearskin cap. He was a fucking bear hunter, and that's why there's a fucking bear on the California state flag. The Lakers come from Minnesota, the land of a thousand lakes. Sports teams move sometimes, Joe. Don't you know that? You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
the California River is empty for like, 8 months of the year or something, or whatever, however, most of the year. It is just a vacant cement vein. It makes no sense. But when we get the monsoon rains we get for the 2 weeks they come, that stupid river saves lives and prevents the entire Los Angeles basin from flooding. So it serves a purpose, just briefly, just for a little while. And when I was coming up, and I know the drought conditions are different now, but when I was coming up, that thing was roaring rapids every year, and somebody went in. There, people died, dogs, and then children would chase after their dogs, and kids would go. Like somebody died in that river every fucking year. And so I don't know, whatever. Why was the point of that? Oh, just that to me was the turning point for Joe Rogan. Was you bought into the Ben Shapiro bullshit,
Yeah.
you motherfucker. So
Yeah.
I lost it for Joe.
No, I know.
Long story of Donald Trump.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, that was such a waste of a podcast. Just even him with JD Vance, it was like, where's this going?
They're not. They don't. They're not. They had them on as a curiosity.
Yeah.
It was just this curiosity. And I think Joe still is kind of surprised when like real people show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's a part of him that's still kind of like, Elon Musk is here? Okay. So let's see if we can get him to smoke some pot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Did
absolutely.
Joe Rogan start Elon Musk on his downward drug spiral from pot to ketamine? Oh, Lord.
Oh my God. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. It's insane just where he's gone to. And it's like
Which, Joe Rogan or Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Remember when he was just kind of funny?
Yeah, he was just a
He was in
goofy
some
autistic
movie, he
kid.
was in some movie with James Franco.
Yeah.
It was funny.
He was on an episode of Big Bang Theory too. You know what I mean? Like he just was around.
He was I don't know, normal, but I mean like, he was, but then like, like yeah, his father moved him and his family to South Africa during apartheid. Like they liked that. They thought that was like, while the rest of the world was turning their back on South Africa, the Musks were like, yeah, let's have some of that. So like, that says something.
Right.
Yes. And then okay, this is something I heard recently, and who knows if it's true, but supposedly his father was obsessed with some Nazi, and this particular Nazi had written a whole like sci-fi story about a sort of king, lord person who rules over a colony on Mars. And this character is called the Elon. And presumably that's why he named his kid Elon, and that's why Elon Musk is obsessed with going to Mars, because it's part of this living up to his father's expectations or something, right?
Oh,
Um,
that's so fucked.
isn't that crazy? And
Crazy.
meanwhile, he's cutting down scientific research and he's getting rid of foreign aid and
Such a mess. It's chaotic out there.
It's just a lowering of our standards.
Right.
It's all the sort of privileged stuff we supposedly got from being the first world, the leaders, the world leaders. And he's saying, no, we don't deserve this no more. We don't deserve disaster relief. We don't deserve, healthcare. We don't deserve disease control. We don't deserve research. We don't just cancer research. We don't deserve this stuff anymore. So apparently, because it costs too much.
Who do you think would make a better leader?
My left ass cheek. Who do I think would make a better leader?
Yeah, like
Like
anybody
what, like do I think Kamala Harris was the answer? I think she was certainly, as far as like the idea of a woman president, she was certainly better than Hillary.
yeah.
But I think Hillary actually would have been an excellent president.
No, really? Okay.
I think she's a shrewd little bitch, to
Yeah,
be honest. And I
sure.
think that's what you need in female leadership.
Sure.
You need a woman who's willing to be a bitch. Because that's too often what it means to be a leader. Not all the time, but that's one of the things. One of the best leaders, women in power, women in leadership I ever met was the woman who did the casting for The Voice. She was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember her name, but it was like I don't know how to put it exactly, but she had just the right amount of like she knew when to yell at one of those kids, but mostly she was a nice, she was just their friend.
Right.
But she knew when to like put a foot down.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. And then, but that's always like the thing with stuff like that. You take stuff like that too far and it becomes hella degenerous. But
Right.
what was the answer? Oh, who do I think would make a better
Yeah, who do
leader?
you think would be a better
I
leader?
don't know. Like, I like the idea of Al Gore or Pete Buttigieg. I like nerds. I want a nerd in charge, to
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest. I don't like that the presidency has become a popularity contest, and it's kind of JFK. We have to kind of blame for that in a way. Um, we've kind of just gone for we vote on vibes more than anything else. Obama was all vibes. It was all good. We just felt so good about it all.
Yeah.
Um, but he was, I think he was good at what that job is. I don't think most people really understand what the job is. I don't think like, that's part of the MAGA narrative though, is they like this idea of a transformative leader, somebody who's going to build an empire, make it, that's what they're thinking and make it great again. They're thinking like Roman Empire, kind of like, that's the line I've been using is it's the difference between people who like Peter Parker understand with great responsibility comes with great power comes responsibility. These are people who are saying, what's the point of having power if you're not going to use it, if you're not going to throw it around a little, and that's the mentality here is let's throw our power around. But that's what the responsibility of being the biggest dog in the yard is that you don't get to do that.
Yep.
You don't get to do that.
No.
That's what that means.
Yep.
That's what that means.
Yep.
Being the biggest, the loudest, and the strongest. That means you don't get to do that. Others will. Others are allowed to because there are bigger dogs. But you're not allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, part of the burden of that is that everybody's going to come at you,
Right.
right? Constantly coming at us because we are the biggest dog in the yard.
Yeah.
And yes, it sucks. It sucks. Responsibility is a pain in the ass. I know, JD Vance. It's so hard. But that's ultimately what I feel like is at the core of this MAGA thing is they don't want to have the responsibility of being the world leaders anymore, or the world police, or whatever it was that we were. And they don't understand the nature of the beast. They don't understand the nature of democracy. When JD Vance, again, when he mocked Romania had to redo their election and he was in Brussels and he's going, well, maybe you don't deserve democracy if your democracy is so fragile. And it's like, that's the point. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it precious, is that it is fucking fragile. It only works because we work it. It only works because we participate in the game together. Together. That's why your vow is to preserve and protect, because it is fragile, you dumb fucking fuck. So like that, when people like that, and this is the guy in power, this is the guy who, when Donald Trump drops dead, hopefully in public, he's going to be the president. I think Donald Trump is going to drop dead soon. And I think JD Vance is going to be the president. And he is a moron and he is a painfully repressed person. He is a compulsive liar. I think he is so far from even like, like, he's gotten so far from his own humanity. I don't even know what to say. And like to understand like sort of the upbringing and the alcoholic, drug addicted mother who was very abusive, and the grandmother who he doesn't want to talk ill of, but was also abusive, and all of that stuff, and all of that stuff, and all that stuff. And I know he's not processed it. I know he doesn't talk about this. He doesn't talk about this with Usha. He doesn't like, you know what I mean? I would be surprised those people barely even talk to each other. She seems gay to me too.
Right.
Um, that's scary to me. Somebody like that is scary to me. Delusion is scary. Delusional people are scary. And you can't, on the politics aside, I don't give a shit. You can't, this is scary. And these are people that when they can't do what they want to do, they just break stuff. And they just break stuff. And they get mad at the thing that doesn't let them do what they want to do, and they break it. And that's what they're doing.
Yep. 100%.
It sucks because it took 200 fucking years to build it.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes 6 months to like not
Yeah.
tear it down, but like the damage they've done, man. But that's the point. It is fragile. This again is the lazy. It's lazy. It's easy to break things. It's hard to build. It's difficult to protect. It is easy to break and neglect. That's easy. That's boring. That's lazy. Is that what we are now? That's what we are now.
Unless we
Lazy,
change.
easy, the road, the path of least resistance. It's too hard to actually like do things to better the economy. So instead, you fire the people who report on the numbers about the economy, and that is scary. Like every time something comes along that he doesn't want to hear about, they just go, no, no. And again, it's very culty. And this is why a lot of why the MAGA thing scares me is because it reminds me so much of growing up Scientology. Do you remember? I'm sorry, I'm going to keep going. I know we're
Oh, go
like,
ahead,
you
please.
guys are coming to an end here, but like, do you remember when he did the thing that wasn't a joint session of Congress, but it looked like it. He called everybody together, right? Right after the inauguration. He delivered like the most dystopian, bizarro speech in the world. And the Republicans in that audience were frantically. And like what they're trying to project is enthusiasm. But what I see, because I was born and raised in a cult where we did the exact same thing, the exact hip hip hooray, the exact same thing. What I see is delirium. What I see is hysteria. What I see is deep-seated fear. What I see is panic.
Mhm.
And also from living on the streets, from being a homeless person, from, like I've had so much experience with these behaviors and all the sort of degrees in which they express themselves, like the way that some people really hold it on, but you can still see something. And some people just let it all hang out, right? And there's a spectrum of it. But like it's scary to me. It's scary to me, these people. It is really, really scary to me. And people have been shot. And that's, I think, is going to get worse. And I think, the gamut so far has been to pretend that we're in a state of emergency. So there's all sorts of leeways, all sorts of little freedoms he gets as an executive, as the executive. Um, but, and I think the plan here is to actually create a situation in which something really does happen. There's some big outbreak. There is a terrorist attack. We actually do go to war with Denmark over Canada or Greenland or whatever. Like, and then he'll have that excuse. And he's been joking with Zelensky about, oh, you haven't had an election. Sounds nice, right? But like even that is fundamentally different. The way that America participates in war, it's over there. Their war is happening right there in their country, in their backyard. Half the country has fled the country. That is why they can't have an election. The other half are desperately hanging on for their lives. So they can't have, of course, they can't have an election. That has never been true in America. We've never had, we have, like, in before times, in the ancient history. But
Right.
like, we don't, the modern warfare of America has always been foreign wars, has always been abstract. And we've worked very hard over the years to create more distance between ourselves. That's why they got rid of the draft, because the draft directly interacts. In fact, the founding fathers set it up this way. It is supposed to be really hard to declare war. And there's all these little stopgaps that the politicians, mostly the conservatives, have slowly disemboweled over the years. And the last big one was the draft, because the draft directly, engage, you're right there, you're involved. That involves everybody, and anybody can be called up theoretically, unless of course you're a senator's son, fortunate son.
Yeah, right.
That ain't me. So what was I on about? No, there was a point to that, I think. Oh yeah, that war is to an American is an abstraction. It's not even like something that's happening here. So the idea that that would create a state, even if we were at war with Denmark over Greenland, the idea that that would create a state of emergency here in the homeland is bullshit. Even that's bullshit. But it doesn't matter with these guys, right? They just say it and they say it and they say it, and that's the nature of propaganda. You just say it, you say it, you say it. You just repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. That's how it works. Um, and that's what they do, and that's what they've been doing forever. And like, yeah, like Rupert Murdoch, like how do we hold him accountable? Like I still think about like all of this really does stem all the way back to Rupert fucking Murdoch, who
Mhm.
decided he wanted to, as he put it, tell the other side of the story. That he had just decided that the media was too goddamn liberal. And I just think, and as Stephen Colbert used to say, that what liberalism, what the truth has a known liberal bias. The truth has a known liberal bias, right? That's the joke. And and again, the MAGA would tell me that I'm one being who's brainwashed, but I've really been paying attention to this, and that has been the consistency over the years. Is that if somebody was telling more of the truth, it was definitely the liberals. If somebody was telling a better version or a truer version of the story, it was definitely not the conservatives. The conservatives always angle it. It's always angled. It's always angled, and it's always angled around money or religion.
Yep.
Everything they do is about like that like let's take for example the right to choose. That is even a political or has been for as it has been, even a political point is to me insane. That's your religious conviction. So guess what? As a Christian, you don't get to have an abortion. Go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. I'm not a Christian. I don't follow your rules. I didn't join your fucking club. I can do whatever the fuck I want with my fucking body. Thank you. But then they've turned that conversation, a conversation about the sovereignty of an individual to do their own, have make their own choices about what they do with their own body and their own whatever, make their own decisions for their own goddamn adult self. And they've turned that conversation into whether or not a fetus is a person and whether or not that person has greater rights than the mother carrying it. Now, what the fuck is that? So, like both sides, no, it's not both sides, and it's not to say that the liberals are always 100%. It's not to say that Slapodopoulos isn't Slapodopoulos. I don't care. I don't know that guy. But and they've never been perfect. And I thought we knew that. I thought, like that discerning eye, that whole point is like you always watch the media, you always watch the news and the joke used to be like, what aren't they saying?
Mm-hmm.
What are they leaving out? Well, reading between the lines. Anytime a politician talked, you knew they weren't going to tell you everything. You knew there was always, what is the stuff he's leaving out? Like that's just how you read, that's just how you listen to these people. And it feels like the MAGA is betrayed by something that it was never real. Like there was never this insistence that the establishments were perfect or that the media was driven snow. There was never that insistence, but the propaganda tells them that they're saying that. It's the same way that people project, you think you're smarter than me. You think you're better than me? Like, no, I don't. You think that. You think I'm better than you. And so you're projecting this judgment that you think I have that I don't have. But you say that to somebody as they're doing it to your face, and they tell, they don't believe you.
Yep. I know. It's crazy. Well, Mustard, man, I keep you on for hours, but
I'm
I'm gonna
sorry.
let you go and get yourself a meal, man. Thank you so much for your time, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Sorry we didn't talk more about music.
No, that's fine. No, like I said, it's just a hang. You expressed how you feel, and that's exactly what I want this to be, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
All right, man. Nice to
Um,
meet you.
is there anything you want to promote? Just have people go to your YouTube. I'll
Yeah,
your
go to my YouTube, I guess. Yeah, I still haven't monetized my YouTube channel.
okay.
So I need to do that because I'm dying. But I don't, sadly, I don't really have anything to promote necessarily other than like to remind people of who I am. And I hope that I can like continue to do what I'm doing. And I hope I get better at it. And I hope I can get some, I'm trying to get some together to get some proper recordings.
Are you
These
still?
these songs I posted recently, I really, really like.
Yeah. Are you still linked to Bandcamp? Like, is anybody who buys your album, does that money
Yeah.
directly go to
I
you?
get nothing. I
Oh,
don't get
really?
it. There is one thing out there called Tiny Steps
Okay.
that is mine, but everything else belongs to somebody else and people who I don't even know how to get in contact with.
Okay.
I don't even know where James Pertuzzi is. The last I heard, he was in Japan. So who knows?
Okay.
Um, selling, discount watches, like watches, something to do with watches, something to do with high-end watches. So like, I don't even know. I don't even know where that is. I don't know like how that works. And
Okay.
I feel like I'd have to get a lawyer to figure it out.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and make sure let everybody know you still got your Facebook, you still got your YouTube, and everybody kind of keep contact with you and just keep waiting for updates of songs because they're amazing. The new songs, man, I hope to see them like on like vinyl or something. You know what I mean? Like I love your
Yeah, I just need somebody to help me record them. I'm a weird Luddite kind of like I just don't even know how to use the technology, and
stuff.
it frustrates me because I know people, I know so many people that do, but I don't know. I don't know how to put. I feel like I have these pieces, and I'm not sure yet how to put them together. But
I'll see. Yeah, we'll get that worked out. Thank you, Mustard, so much for your time, buddy.
thanks, Justin. All right.